The spaceport of Surfera buzzed with activity, a chaotic blend of alien languages and the hum of advanced technology. Laia navigated through the throng, her silver hair shimmering under the artificial lights. Zion, her massive alien beast companion, prowled beside her, its emerald eyes scanning the crowd. Despite the bustling environment, Laia felt a familiar pang of isolation. The stares and whispers followed her, a constant reminder of the fear Zion instilled in others. A sudden commotion near the docking bay caught her attention. A gang of thugs had cornered a merchant, their menacing laughter echoing through the port. Laia's grip tightened on Zion's leash. She knew better than to interfere, but something about the scene compelled her to stay. Before she could decide her next move, a figure emerged from the crowd. Sergeant Grayson Hamilton, a rugged human soldier with piercing blue eyes, approached the thugs. His authoritative voice cut through the noise. "Back off, or you'll regret it." The thugs sneered, but Grayson's presence was formidable. One by one, they backed away, muttering curses under their breath. The merchant, visibly shaken, offered a grateful nod before scurrying away. Laia observed the scene with a mixture of admiration and curiosity. Most intriguing was Grayson's unflinching gaze as it fell upon Zion. Instead of recoiling in fear, he approached the beast with a calm, steady hand. "Easy there, big guy," he murmured, extending his hand. To Laia's astonishment, Zion responded, allowing Grayson to pat its head. No one had ever dared to get so close, let alone touch Zion. Her curiosity piqued, Laia stepped forward. "Thank you for helping," she said, her voice soft but clear. Grayson turned, his blue eyes meeting hers. "Just doing my job," he replied with a friendly smile. "Name's Grayson. And you are?" "Laia." She introduced herself, still amazed at how Zion had taken to him. "This is Zion. He's different." Grayson chuckled. "I've noticed. He's quite the guardian. Mind if I walk with you?" Surprised by his request but intrigued, Laia nodded. As they strolled through the spaceport, Grayson shared stories of his missions, each tale revealing his courage and dedication. Laia found herself opening up about her work at the Institute of Intergalactic Flora, her passion for discovery evident in her words. Their conversation was interrupted by the sudden blare of alarms. Security drones zipped past them, converging on a nearby sector. Grayson's expression hardened. "Stay close," he instructed, moving towards the source of the disturbance. Laia followed, Zion at her side, as they approached the epicenter of the chaos. Armed thugs had taken over a docking bay, their intentions clear: sabotage the upcoming diplomatic meeting. Grayson didn't hesitate. He charged forward, his movements swift and precise, engaging the thugs with a combination of skill and strategy. Laia watched in awe as Grayson fought. His bravery was palpable, his determination unwavering. But it wasn't just his combat prowess that impressed her, it was his ability to see beyond Zion's fearsome exterior and recognize the gentle soul within. The battle reached its peak when one of the thugs drew a blaster, aiming it at Grayson. Without thinking, Laia shouted, "Zion, now!" The beast lunged, disarming the thug with a swift swipe of its claws. Grayson took advantage of the distraction, subduing the remaining assailants. Breathing heavily, Grayson turned to Laia. "Thanks for the assist." Laia smiled, relief flooding her. "We make a good team." As the security forces secured the area, Grayson and Laia found a moment of calm amidst the chaos. "Why do you have such a dangerous companion?" Grayson asked, his tone curious rather than accusatory. Laia sighed, glancing at Zion. "He's not dangerous to me. I've raised him since he was a cub. People just don't see what I see." Grayson nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. "I get it. Sometimes you have to look beyond the surface." Their connection deepened as they continued to talk, exploring the spaceport and sharing their dreams. Laia realized that Grayson was different. He saw her for who she truly was, not just the girl with the terrifying beast. As the day turned to evening, Grayson walked Laia and Zion back to her quarters. "I'd like to see you again," he said, a hint of hope in his voice. Laia smiled, feeling a warmth she hadn't experienced in a long time. "I'd like that too." Their journey had just begun, but Laia felt a newfound sense of hope. Perhaps, in Grayson, she had found someone who could break through her loneliness. And in Zion, they had a bond that would only grow stronger with time. The bustling spaceport of Surfera continued around them, but for Laia, the world had changed. She was no longer just the girl with the beasts, she was someone worth knowing, someone worth fighting for. The aftermath of the thugs' attack left the spaceport on edge. Security drones hovered in alert mode, scanning every corner. Grayson and Laia walked through the crowded corridors, Zion faithfully by their side, drawing cautious glances from passers-by. Grayson had an idea brewing. He had seen Laia's strength and Zion's loyalty firsthand and was convinced they were vital assets against the brewing storm he sensed in the spaceport. "Mind if I accompany you to the Institute?" Grayson asked, breaking the silence. "I'd like to see more of your work." Laia hesitated, her amethyst eyes searching his for any sign of ulterior motive. Finding none, she nodded. "All right, but don't touch anything without asking." They walked together through the bustling marketplace, where vendors hawked exotic wares and the scent of alien spices filled the air. Grayson's eyes were constantly moving, assessing potential threats, while Laia led him to the quieter side of Surfera, where the Institute of Intergalactic Flora stood. The building's sleek design contrasted sharply with the chaotic marketplace, exuding an aura of calm and intellectual pursuit. Inside, the air was cool and filled with the subtle fragrance of various interstellar plants. Laia guided Grayson past rows of bioluminescent flora, each one labeled with its origin planet and unique properties. "This is where I spend most of my time," she said, her voice tinged with pride. "These plants have potential to revolutionize medicine, agriculture, and even energy production." Grayson marveled at the diversity of life forms, each more astonishing than the last. "You've got quite an impressive setup here. I can see why it's a target." Laia's expression darkened. "Yes, and that's what worries me. My research could be used for incredible good, but in the wrong hands." A sudden loud noise interrupted their conversation. The sound of heavy boots echoed through the halls, followed by shouts. Grayson's instincts kicked in. "Stay here," he ordered, drawing his blaster and moving toward the commotion. Zion growled, poised to follow. "No, Zion," Laia commanded softly. "Stay with me." Grayson advanced cautiously, his senses heightened. He rounded a corner to find a group of heavily armed mercenaries forcing their way into a secure lab. "Hey!" he shouted, drawing their attention. "Step away from the door!" The mercenaries turned, their leader smirking. "This doesn't concern you, soldier. Walk away, and you won't get hurt." Grayson aimed his blaster. "Last warning? Leave, or face the consequences." The leader's smirk faded, replaced by a scowl. "Take him down!" The mercenaries opened fire, and Grayson dove behind a pillar, returning shots with deadly accuracy. The sounds of battle reached Laia, who watched with growing fear. She couldn't stand by and do nothing. Grabbing a small device from her desk, she activated it. An energy shield enveloped her and Zion. "Come on, Zion! We're helping!" They rushed towards the conflict. Zion, sensing Laia's determination, roared fiercely, startling the mercenaries. Grayson used the distraction to his advantage, taking down two of them with precise shots. Laia and Zion emerged, shields shimmering as they moved. "Laia, get back!" Grayson shouted, but she shook her head. "We're in this together," she replied, throwing a small capsule at the remaining mercenaries. It exploded in a burst of light and sound, disorienting them. Zion charged, his powerful form a blur as he incapacitated the mercenaries with swift, non-lethal strikes. With the mercenaries subdued, Grayson approached Laia, breathing heavily. "You're braver than I gave you credit for," he said, a hint of admiration in his voice. She smiled, though her eyes were serious. "We have to protect this place, Grayson. My research is too important to fall into the wrong hands." He nodded, understanding the gravity of her words. "We'll need to report this and tighten security. There might be more coming." Laia agreed. I'll contact the Institute's security team. But Grayson, thank you for believing in us. Grayson placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. We're in this together now. I've got your back. As they moved to secure the lab and report the incident, the bond between them grew stronger. Laia saw Grayson not just as a protector, but as a partner in this fight. Grayson, in turn, respected Laia's courage and intelligence, knowing that together, they could face whatever threats came their way. The spaceport outside remained a hive of activity, unaware of the battle that had just unfolded within the Institute. For Laia and Grayson, the real fight was just beginning, but they faced it with newfound determination and unity. The Institute of Intergalactic Flora buzzed with activity as security personnel reinforced the premises. Laia and Grayson stood in the control room, watching surveillance footage of the recent attack. Zion lay beside Laia, his emerald eyes alert for any sign of further danger. We need to get to the bottom of this, Grayson said, his voice filled with determination. Those mercenaries weren't just common thugs. They were well equipped and organized. Laia nodded, her expression serious. My research must be at the center of this. Someone wants it badly enough to send armed mercenaries. We need to find out who. Grayson's communicator beeped. He glanced at the screen and frowned. I have a contact in the spaceport's underworld who might have information. Are you up for a little field trip? Laia's eyes sparkled with resolve. Absolutely. Let's go. They left Zion at the Institute, trusting the enhanced security measures to keep him safe. The journey to the spaceport's darker districts was tense. Grayson navigated the narrow, dimly lit alleys with practiced ease, while Laia stayed close, her senses on high alert. They arrived at a dingy cantina, the air thick with smoke and the murmur of hushed conversations. Grayson spotted his contact, a wiry man with a scar across his cheek, sitting in a secluded corner. Stay close, Grayson whispered to Laia as they approached. Grayson, the man greeted, his voice low and gravelly. What brings you to my neck of the woods? I need information, Malik, Grayson replied, leaning in. There was an attack at the Institute. Mercenaries. High-end gear. Who's behind it? Malik's eyes flicked to Laia, then back to Grayson. Word on the street is a group called the Syndicate. They've been after advanced tech and research. Your institute must have something they want. Laia's heart pounded. The Syndicate was notorious for their ruthlessness. Why my research? She asked, her voice steady despite the fear gnawing at her. Malik shrugged. Could be they think it's valuable. Could be they want to use it for something else. Either way, you're in their crosshairs now. Grayson nodded, slipping Malik a credit chip. Thanks for the tip. Keep your ears open. As they left the cantina, Laia's mind raced. Grayson, if the Syndicate is involved, this is bigger than we thought. They could come after us again, and next time, we might not be so lucky. Grayson's jaw tightened. We'll be ready. But first, we need to secure your research. Make sure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. They hurried back to the Institute, arriving to find Zion pacing restlessly. Laia stroked his fur, calming him as they devised a plan. We need to move my research to a secure location, she said. Somewhere they can't reach it. Grayson nodded. I know a place. The Saphirian military has a secure vault. We can store your work there until this blows over. The tension rose as they prepared for the move. Laia carefully packed her research, ensuring everything was accounted for. Grayson coordinated with the military, arranging transport and security. Every moment felt fraught with potential danger, the threat of the Syndicate looming over them. As they loaded the final crate into the transport vehicle, an explosion rocked the Institute. Smoke and debris filled the air, and alarms blared. Grayson and Laia exchanged a grim look. They're here, Grayson said, his voice taut with urgency. Zion growled, his massive form ready to defend. Grayson grabbed his blaster, and Laia armed herself with a small, high-tech device. Let's end this, she said, determination hardening her features. They moved through the smoke-filled corridors, senses sharp and nerves taut. The syndicate operatives emerged from the shadows, their weapons drawn. Grayson fired, taking down 2 assailants, while Laia activated her device, emitting a blinding flash of light that disoriented their attackers. Zion charged, his powerful presence a force to be reckoned with. Together, they fought their way through the Institute, the tension escalating with every step. Laia's heart pounded as they reached the main lab, where more syndicate operatives awaited. Grayson and Laia stood back to back, fending off the attackers with precision and determination. The battle reached its peak as the syndicate leader stepped forward, a sinister grin on his face. "You can't win," he taunted. "The research will be ours." Grayson's eyes narrowed. "Not on my watch." In a final, desperate push, they fought with everything they had. Laia used her device to disable the leader's weapon, while Grayson delivered a decisive blow. Zion roared, sending the remaining operatives fleeing in terror. As the smoke cleared, Laia and Grayson stood victorious, but exhausted. The Institute was in ruins, but her research was safe. They had faced the Syndicate and won, but the battle was far from over. "We need to stay vigilant," Grayson said, his voice firm. "They'll be back." Laia nodded, her resolve stronger than ever. "And we'll be ready." Together, they began the arduous task of rebuilding, knowing that their fight had only just begun. The Saphirian military vault was as secure as Grayson had promised. Massive steel doors, biometric locks, and armed guards ensured Laia's research was safe. Yet, the sense of imminent threat lingered. Laia and Grayson knew the Syndicate wouldn't give up easily. Laia paced the small room adjacent to the vault, anxiety etched on her face. Grayson stood by the window, scanning the perimeter for any signs of trouble. Zion lay at Laia's feet, his eyes mirroring her tension. "What if they find another way in?" Laia asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Grayson turned to her, his expression resolute. "We've taken every precaution. But if they do come, we'll be ready." A sudden blaring alarm shattered the silence. Grayson's communicator crackled to life. "Breaches detected on the north and east sides," a voice reported. "Hostiles are advancing." Grayson's eyes hardened. "It's time." They moved swiftly, exiting the room and joining the soldiers preparing for the confrontation. Grayson donned his combat gear, while Laia equipped herself with a portable defense device she had engineered. Zion, sensing the danger, stood ready to defend. The tension rose as they reached the north entrance, where a squad of soldiers was already engaged in combat with the Syndicate operatives. Blaster fire illuminated the dim corridor, and the air was thick with the smell of burning metal. "Flank them!" Grayson ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos. He and Laia moved to the side, using the shadows for cover. Zion followed closely, his growls low and menacing. Grayson's tactical commands and precise shots created a path through the enemy ranks. Laia's device emitted a shield, protecting them from incoming fire. They advanced steadily, each step a calculated move in the deadly dance of battle. "Zion, now!" Laia commanded as they reached a critical juncture. The massive beast charged, his claws and teeth lethal against the Syndicate's elite fighters. The sight of Zion's ferocity sent a wave of fear through the operatives, disrupting their formation. The Syndicate's leader, a tall figure with a cold, calculating gaze, emerged from the fray. He aimed a high-powered weapon directly at Laia. "End of the line, scientist," he sneered. Grayson stepped in front of her, his blaster raised. "You'll have to get through me first." A tense standoff ensued. The leader's eyes flicked to Zion, who growled deeply, then back to Grayson. "Brave but foolish," he said, firing his weapon. Grayson's quick reflexes saved him. He dodged, returning fire with deadly accuracy. The leader's weapon was knocked from his hand, and Zion lunged, pinning the leader to the ground. Laia moved swiftly, activating a restraint device that immobilized him. With their leader captured, the remaining Syndicate operatives faltered. The soldiers took advantage of the confusion, securing the area and rounding up the attackers. The battle was over, but the aftermath was only beginning. Grayson and Laia stood over the restrained leader, who glared up at them with defiance. You may have won this round, he spat, but the syndicate will never stop. Laya's eyes blazed with determination. We'll be ready for them, she replied. And next time, we'll be even stronger. Grayson nodded, his respect for Laya deepening. You've got guts, Laya. I'm glad we're in this together. As the military personnel secured the area and began cleanup operations, Grayson and Laya retreated to a quieter section of the vault. The adrenaline of battle slowly ebbed, leaving them with a mix of exhaustion and relief. We did it, Laya said softly, sinking into a chair. We actually did it. Grayson sat beside her, a small smile playing on his lips. You were incredible out there. I knew you had it in you. Laya's cheeks flushed slightly. I couldn't have done it without you. Or Zion. Zion, hearing his name, patted over and nuzzled Laya's hand. She stroked his fur, feeling a deep sense of gratitude and love for her loyal companion. Now what? Laya asked, looking at Grayson. No, he replied. We rebuild. We keep your research safe. And we prepare for whatever comes next. Laya took a deep breath, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. I'm ready. As long as we're together, I know we can face anything. Grayson reached out and took her hand, squeezing it gently. Together, he echoed. The events of the day had forged an unbreakable bond between them. They had faced the syndicate and emerged victorious, but more than that, they had discovered the strength that came from unity and love. As they looked towards the future, the path ahead seemed filled with challenges, but also with hope. With each other's support and Zion by their side, they were ready to face whatever the universe threw at them. And in that moment, amidst the ruins of battle and the promise of a new dawn, they knew that love and courage could conquer any foe.